Hi there, and welcome back to another episode at Station Road. Now, today's video is another interesting one where I really felt it was high time for another experiment. So, this video has been on the cards for quite a while. It was an idea that popped into my head possibly actually a year or so back, where I sort of really wanted to test how well a card building or card kit of some sort fared when it came to covering it with a matte varnish and not covering it with a matte varnish. So we know there's the age-old debate in the model railway industry. Are you a card kit builder or are you a plastic kit builder? And of course, as most of you will know, I prefer working in card. And of course, I've always loved the Metcalfe card kits. Now, more recently, of course, I've been branching off into laser cut card kits as well, that are custom designed, which I then cut out on my laser cutter. So what is this test all about? Now, I've got an old Metcalfe station building. Now, I didn't actually build this station myself. It came with a bunch of other model railway items that I bought, I think, through an auction, and it was amongst those items as a pre-built station. And initially I did actually use it on part of the layout and converted it into a hotel, but after a period of time I noticed that it was getting quite gobbled up by some silverfish as they started eating away at the brickwork, so it soon got relegated to a shelf, never really to be looked at or used again. So obviously with this Metcalfe card station not going anywhere or really doing anything, I thought, why not put it through its paces and test whether doing a matte clear varnish over a card structure actually does benefit the card structure and gives it a little bit more longevity. So obviously we just have the one building, but of course why not chop it in half? So I did that, chopped it in half, got rid of the middle section, and we're left with two end pieces that are basically identical, constructed at the same time, same card materials and same shape and similar amount of windows and so forth. And then of course the plan is to test these two independent structures, one that has not had any treatment and the other one with a matte clear varnish. Right, so we've now successfully dissected our station building, and I've of course eliminated the middle section that kind of got a little bit destroyed by the saw. So we've got our two halves, essentially really they're identical, so this should be a reasonably good exercise or experiment. Now, one chimney is missing obviously, so I think what I might do to give it a fair chance, we'll leave this one as is and I will spray this one. Now, my go-to matte varnish that I use on all my card kits, whether it be Metcalfe or scratch built, is the Citadel Monitorum matte varnish, and it produces probably the best matte finish that's available here in New Zealand. Now, there is this one here. Now, this is Belton Molotow premium varnish. This is pretty good as well, but the other interesting thing is you can actually buy this in a UV matte spray. So if your layout is in bright sunlight quite frequently, if you've got large windows with sun streaming in, maybe the UV varnish might be quite good for retaining the print quality and to avoid these types of buildings from fading. So we'll go ahead and we'll blast this half with our matte spray. Now, a few pointers. Matte spray of course works best, or actually any kind of aerosol spray works best in warm temperatures. So currently it's 20 degrees here in the garage. In the winter time I have to often dunk these tins in a bucket of warm water to bring it up to temperature. Otherwise, if you don't do that, you'll end up with that ghosting or foggy effect, which doesn't look that brilliant. So let's go ahead and we'll give this a blast, and I may do 2 coats, just depends. Right, we'll let that first coat dry, and I'll come back a bit later on and do another coat. Usually in temperature like this, I'll give it about half an hour, and then I can come back and do another recoat. Right, so that's the first coat dry, so I'm just about to go over it with a second coat, and it should be enough. We may find some deterioration will probably start in here first, because I mean we have got torn and ripped card here, so I might expect these bits to start to deteriorate quicker than maybe other areas, but we'll just go over this one more time and then get it ready for the great outdoors. Right, second coat done, and I've also just actually sprayed on over this MDF as well. This will actually be a good test for the MDF as well. That's just 3mm MDF. So wait for that to dry, and as mentioned, we'll get it ready for outside. Right, so I've now nailed these 2 sections of building to just a hunk of treated wood, and of course I've got a brick sitting on top to weigh it down. Do get a bit of wind here in Christchurch from time to time, so of course I don't want them blowing off this table, so I've marked them uncoated and coated, and they're just outdoors here in our garden on our outdoor table. So the plan is, what I'm going to do is record the deterioration on a daily basis, whether I video it or photograph it, I'm not too sure, and then at the end of each week do a summary of where these 2 buildings are at. So it will be interesting just to see how these go, whether this deteriorates in a matter of weeks or whether it takes months. I have no idea, but I guess the whole point of this is we will find out. So the stage has been set, so to speak, and now it's a case of waiting to see what happens. Now some of you will be wondering, well, it's a little bit extreme putting these outside. Well, that's the whole point. I really want to accelerate the process of deterioration, so what better place to have them than outside. We of course all know that it would be kind of silly to have card buildings and kits on a garden layout outside. They are not going to last very long at all. So I also of course included in there some sped up footage of just spraying these buildings. Now I thought, if I'm actually going to be doing a test and seeing how these buildings cope with the outdoor elements, I thought I better include that footage, because we don't want to have any trickery here and me maybe doing sneaky things to try and prolong the life of these buildings. So they are as they are. One has been sprayed matte varnish, the other one hasn't. It's as simple as that. So of course there's going to be a follow-up video in a week's time, and it of course will be very interesting to see what has happened over the last week. I will also actually make a note of the weather conditions as well for each day, so whether it's pouring of rain, snowing, blazing sun, or howling gales, then I'll make a note of those and record those over the week, so we get an idea of what kind of weather conditions these buildings are suffering. So I've asked the family not to touch, and I'm not also going to touch these buildings either. I don't want to accelerate any process by poking and prodding at them. Literally, I want the outdoor elements to do their work. Unfortunately, I can't avoid whether there's any wildlife that may want to come and investigate the buildings, whether we end up having birds picking chunks out of the building to use in their nests. So there we have it. I'll leave it there for today's video, and I certainly hope you find this unusual wee experiment interesting. So do take care, everyone. Look after yourselves. Of course, don't forget to like and subscribe, and I will catch you next time. Bye for now.